Hello and welcome to Northwest Newsweek. OPP in the Rainy River area have laid murder charges against a Fort Frances man. 53-year-old Joseph DeRosier was charged with second-degree murder and committing an undignifying act to a dead body. A missing person report led to the discovery of the deceased. 41-year-old Curtis Medicine of Rainy River First Nation was first reported missing on March 31st. His body was located by police last Saturday inside of a residence on 5th Street West. The OPP Crime Unit is continuing the investigation in conjunction with the Chief Coroner's Office. The accused remains in custody and appeared in court on Wednesday. The U.S. Department of Commerce announced last weekend that the duties on Canadian softwood lumber will soon be hiked from 14.5% to 34.5%. The province's Associate Ministry of Forestry and Forest Products, Kevin Holland, spoke with TBT News about implications of the duties. Brendan Miller reports.
After releasing a statement over the weekend regarding the duty increase on softwood lumber, MPP and Associate Minister of Forestry and Forest Products, Kevin Holland, continued to voice his displeasure over what he calls unjustified and punitive measures. With that aside, the focus shifts back to the people of Ontario and Thunder Bay Atikokan as the duty increase from 14.5% to 34.5% could be devastating to the forest industries in the region.
So it's very concerning, being the minister involved or responsible for that file. But that's why our government earlier today, as I said, announced that package to help provide that relief to industries that are being hard hit heavily by the duties and tariffs imposed by the U.S. government, and that will include the forestry sector.
The package Holland mentioned is an $11 billion relief package to help businesses that could possibly flounder in the wake of these sweeping tariffs and duties. There's also a 6-month tax deferral, giving $9 billion to help with cash flow.
The unpredictability obviously makes it more difficult for us to be able to plan and deal with it. So, with not knowing what's coming from day to day, it's on one day, it's off another day, leaves you kind of always in that planning stage. So, if we had if there was some sort of measured, response or a measured program coming out, it'd be easier to deal with. Having said that, though, our government is fully prepared for what it is we're dealing with.
Holland points out that the province's forestry sector generated close to $37 billion of revenue in 2022 and supported more than 137,000 jobs, and says the Ford government stands firm that these duties should be lifted entirely. Brendan Miller, TBT News.
Another high-ranking leader of Nishnawbe Aski Nation has become the subject of an internal investigation. 2 years after former Grand Chief Derek Fox was suspended and then fired for alleged misconduct, NAN Deputy Grand Chief Bobby Narcisse is now facing a probe into his conduct. Narcisse was first elected in 2021 and was then re-elected to another 3-year term in 2024. A confidential letter from the Grand Chief Alvin Fiddler to the 49 NAN chiefs was recently obtained and made public by Globe and Mail reporter Willow Fiddler. The letter says the rest of the NAN Executive Council passed on a motion April 4th to order an independent investigation after receiving concerns and allegations regarding Narcisse. It also states that Narcisse is not allowed into NAN offices, but he can continue working virtually with pay as he is entitled to due process. Narcisse declined to comment on the situation, and NAN officials did not respond. There are 3 federal ridings here in northwestern Ontario, and this week we begin our coverage of the candidates for the upcoming election with a look at Kenora-Kiiwetinoong. There are 6 people hoping to win over the voters in that newly configured riding. Justin Hardy reports.
Election Day is April 28th, and candidates in the newly redrawn Kenora-Kiiwetinoong riding say they are ready for the fight to represent their area.
I believe running for the NDP was the right fit for me, and certainly they hold a lot of my values. So
there are political differences, there are historical differences, but also there are a lot of commonalities.
Tanya Cameron ran as the NDP candidate in the 2008 and 2011 federal elections in the former Kenora riding. And now she's back again representing the party in the newly dubbed Kenora-Kiiwetinoong riding. Cameron, a member of Nisashawaan Nishnawbe Nation, works as a chief executive officer at the Wigwas Elders and Senior Care Home in Kenora. She says she chose to run again to help the next generation.
What does the future hold for them? What are jobs going to be looking like for them? And someday I hope they'll be able to afford to buy a home. But in today's financial climate, there's so many struggles that I see within my own families, within our circles. And the last couple of days of door knocking, I hear that there's a lot of concerns about what young people will be stepping into in terms of what their adult life is going to look like. So that's from my perspective, like that I thought is important to run.
Charles Fox is representing the Liberal Party of Canada in Kenora-Kiiwetinoong. Originally from Bearskin Lake First Nation, Fox served as Grand Chief of Nishnawbe Aski Nation from 1994 until 2000, and then served as Ontario Regional Chief. Fox also previously ran for the Ontario Liberals back in 2018 in the Algoma-Manitoulin riding. He says his focus will be to help the riding through the economic threats from the United States.
It's going to hit us hard. So how do we begin to strategize for that? How do we begin to develop a plan on how we counter that? I understand the trade wars. I understand the tariffs. It's imposed by the Americans, but we got to retaliate, and we want to show the Americans, hey, we can do this. But at the same time, I think we have to examine what the cost of that is going to be to our communities.
The Conservatives' Eric Malillo has represented the former Kenora riding after winning the 2019 and 2021 elections. He's now running again in the redistributed Kenora-Kiiwetinoong riding. Malillo has not replied to numerous requests for a media interview. Sioux Narrows area resident John Hobbs is running for the Green Party, and he was also not made available for a TV interview. The other registered candidates in Kenora-Kiiwetinoong are Kelvin Boucher Chicago, who is once again running as an independent, and Bryce Desjardins, who is running on behalf of the People's Party of Canada. Justin Hardy, TBT News.
This past Monday was the deadline for the candidates to file their nomination papers. Voters in the two Thunder Bay area ridings will have 5 candidates to choose from when they cast their ballots on April 28th. Here are the people running in Thunder Bay Rainy River. Eric Arner is representing the Green Party. Brendan Hyatt is the nominee for the Conservatives. Marcus Pulowski is the incumbent running again for the Liberals. Sabrina Rhee is with the People's Party, and Yuxem Wan is the NDP candidate. Over in Thunder Bay Superior North, Amos Bradley is the People's Party nominee. Patty Haidu is the incumbent for the Liberals. Bob Herman is the Conservative candidate. John Northey is with the Green Party, and Joy Wakefield is representing the NDP. Voters can cast their ballots now at the returning offices, and advance polls are scheduled for the Easter weekend, April 18th to April 21st. And we'll continue our federal election coverage after the break with a look at the people running in Thunder Bay Superior North. Stay with us. Welcome back. We now continue federal election coverage with the profiles of the candidates in Thunder Bay Superior North. We'll start off with the incumbent. Liberal Patty Hajdu is looking for a fourth straight election win to once again represent the riding in Ottawa. Ryan Graham has this candidate profile.
Patty Hajdu is seeking her fourth term as a Liberal MP for Thunder Bay Superior North. She was first elected in 2015 and won the 2021 election by more than 5,000 votes over her nearest opponent. She's held various cabinet posts over the past decade, most recently at the Minister of Indigenous Services. Hajdu explains why she is running for re-election.
I deeply understand the region after serving for almost 9.5 years. But very importantly, this is a pivotal moment for Canada. Canada is going to make a choice about whether or not we continue to stand strong for each other as a sovereign nation with a strong Canadian economy, or whether we're going to descend into divisive politics and let politicians pit us against each other.
We asked Hajdu what her key priorities are if she's re-elected to Parliament. She plans to continue supporting economic growth and better infrastructure within smaller communities and First Nations communities, and attracting large projects for job stimulation in Thunder Bay Superior North as a whole.
Continuing the work on self-determination, whether it's child welfare or health legislation. And then for Thunder Bay, of course, there are even diverse priorities within the city of Thunder Bay, but continuing the work to ensure that we attract the best and brightest to stay in Thunder Bay, to grow our economy.
On top of her many years of experience in Ottawa, Hajdu says she also brings the benefits of long-term relationships to the job. When asked what set her apart from her opponents in this election race, Hajdu points to her perseverance and optimism for the future of Thunder Bay.
In the case of the Conservative member, have not spent any significant time in the recent past in the riding and do not know the issues of the riding, and in fact are offering a very American style of politics to our region that, in what I'm hearing at the door, most Thunder Bay Superior North residents are rejecting.
Ryan Graham, TBT News.
Joy Wakefield is running for the NDP in Thunder Bay Superior North. Despite being new to federal politics, she believes her legal background and work with the community will help her be a strong voice for the region. Jessica Clement has that candidate profile.
This is Joy Wakefield's first time running in a federal election. The NDP candidate has worked as a lawyer for 8 years and has been employed by a local tribal council serving various Robinson Superior Treaty communities. She's also acted as Lakehead University's Director of Human Rights and Equity and is a local union executive with Legal Aid Ontario. Wakefield says she wants to be a voice that listens to everyone and have the ability to speak up for the North.
I've seen a lot of the injustices that happen. I've seen a lot of the suffering of people when they don't have access to the services they need, when they don't have access to justice and to fair programs that help support them, when they can't buy groceries, things like that. And so for me, I felt that it was time to step up and step forward.
Wakefield says she has many goals if she's elected to serve the riding in Ottawa, but affordability will be her main priority.
I think one of the most critical issues for people, and certainly what we're hearing at the doorsteps, is that people can't afford things right now. The cost of living is escalating for people, and we need programs and we need funding for people that's going to help bring the cost of living down, that's going to help them afford their groceries, that's going to help them be able to stay in their homes and take care of their families.
Wakefield believes her legal background and her work as a litigator sets her apart from the other candidates in Thunder Bay Superior North, and hopes voters will choose Joy at the ballot box.
We need a representative that understands the law. We need a representative that can debate policies in Parliament, and we need someone who can engage with people and communicate with folks on the ground. We're really focused on what everyday Canadians need and the needs of the people on the ground, not people who are wealthy and can afford everything.
Jessica Clement, TBT News.
Former Thunder Bay Police Chief Bob Herman is making his first run at politics, representing the Conservative Party. Herman feels his experience dealing with upper levels of government will help make him an effective MP in Ottawa. Jonathan Wilson reports.
Bob Herman has been very busy so far in this election campaign, getting to know the people around the vast riding of Thunder Bay Superior North and making sure his message gets out about why he's seeking the support of the riding's voters. Herman explains why he decided to enter the race.
Well, I mean, for the last 10 years, I've watched as life has become harder and harder for the average Canadian. I mean, the cost of living is really out of control. People in their 20s and 30s can't afford to buy a house because the ability to do so is just impossible right now. And I just decided to do something about it. I don't think anybody elected a Liberal government with a mandate to double our debt, to increase our cost of living, to let crime get out of control.
Herman says the Conservative Party has a lot to offer the Northwest, with plans to improve home affordability and quality of life issues, along with bringing better health care to rural areas. But his main priority, if elected, is jobs and the economy.
Economic development has to be the #1 priority for this area and this region. The Conservative plan is to fast-track economic development. We live in a mineral-rich area of the country. For example, in Marathon, Generation X has a potential mine that will create 400 jobs. That's going to be a boom for Marathon. Ring of Fire would be a boom for the rest of the communities in our riding.
Herman spent 32 years on the Thunder Bay Police Force, including 11 years as police chief. After his retirement in 2011, Herman served as a deputy police chief and then as acting chief of the Nishnawbe Aski Police Service before spending the past decade in retirement. Herman says that life experience is just one thing that sets him apart from the other candidates running in Thunder Bay Superior North.
I mean, I was the chief of 2 major police services in Northern Ontario. I did that for a number of years. I've dealt with government at all levels. I've dealt with both the provincial government and the federal government. I've sat face-to-face with ministers, bringing issues to the table. So I do understand how government works. I think with my, opponent, the Liberal candidate for this area, that I wasn't at the table for the last 10 years when a lot of bad policy decisions were being made that have brought us to the state in this country that we are now. So I think I'm bringing a fresh look to it, and I think change will be good for this riding.
Jonathan Wilson, TBT News.
Area farmers got the chance to have an open dialogue with some of the federal candidates from the Thunder Bay area ridings this week. The timing of the election campaign aligned well with the annual Spring Farm Conference in Thunder Bay. Justin Hardy reports.
In person and a handshake is what resonates in agriculture.
The audience was packed for the Farmers Candidate Forum held on the final day of the annual Spring Farm Conference. Federal candidates from both Thunder Bay ridings were in attendance to meet and answer questions from local farmers. The questions included topics like the carbon tax, beef processing regulations, and the future of the port in Thunder Bay. We spoke to the Thunder Bay Rainy River candidates who attended the forum, and they all agreed it's important to take opportunities like this to build relationships with constituents.
Whether it's knocking on doors or forums like this, listening to people. Some of them agree with us, some of them don't agree with us, but I think if you're the elected representative, you should be listening to everybody.
It doesn't matter what political stripe you are, if you're red, brown, blue, or purple, it is so important to have that conversation and to have a respectful conversation. And, if we have respect as the bottom line, we can move forward with that.
I think not only the one-on-ones, but also to be able to bring forward a bit of the platform, to be able to contrast and listen to what the other parties are saying as well, and make sure that, they are being held accountable.
Notably absent from the Farmers Forum were the candidates from the Green and Conservative parties. Thunder Bay Soil and Crop Improvement Association Director Jason Reed says that what many in the agricultural industry want to see is someone who will meet them at their level.
I think you can really see a dedication and a concern for the agriculture industry by who was available and made themselves available to be here today. I think being here is very important to be able to make that face-to-face contact and be able to sit down over lunch now and have the discussions. And really, in agriculture, we're an old-fashioned industry. We're old-fashioned people. That's the way things get done. We make deals with a handshake and a smile and word of mouth. And so that's the way the agriculture industry runs across Canada.
The Thunder Bay Rainy River candidates have also been invited to another forum in Fort Frances on April 12th. Justin Hardy, TBT News.
Highway 17 east of Ignace was completely closed for around 2 hours on Thursday morning after a transport truck lost control and ended up partially in the ditch. According to Northwest Region OPP, it happened just before 6 a.m. between English River and Ignace. Police say the transport driver missed the corner, crashed, and subsequently blocked both lanes of the highway. There were no injuries, and OPP say it doesn't appear that any other vehicles were involved. The driver, a 31-year-old man from Winkler, Manitoba, has been charged with careless driving. Time now for another short break. We'll meet the organizers of a Hands the Cross border event in Fort Frances when we come back.
And then we held hands and stretched across the span of the bridge, connected the two countries.
Welcome back. The political tension between Canada and the U.S. continues to grow amid tariffs and the ongoing trade war. However, relationships between the border towns of Fort Frances and International Falls remain strong. Brendan Miller spoke to a woman who organized a gathering on the bridge connecting the two communities, and he has this report.
This past Saturday, about 150 residents from both sides of the border met on the bridge that connects Fort Frances, Ontario and International Falls, Minnesota. The idea was to exemplify that the two towns count on one another, not just for business, as the ties run deep within the overall community. Mary Waters, who lives on the U.S. side, explains how quickly word spread from a Facebook post and how many people were eager to participate.
So a friend posted it last Monday night. And in 4 days, there was so much support, it virtually organized itself.
Waters was born in the United States. Her mother remarried a Canadian border officer, and they moved to Fort Frances. After going to school across the same bridge, she'd see her best friend from first grade again.
When we saw each other and we started waving, and so that was really very wonderful. And then we held hands and stretched across the span of the bridge, connected the two countries. And even though we didn't know the words, thank you, Sly and the Family Stone, saying we are family.
Despite the political tension, ordinary people on both sides of the border continue to trust one another, demonstrating how important and long-standing the relationships are. Brendan Miller, TBT News.
The Ontario New Democrats have announced their shadow cabinet for the upcoming term in the provincial legislature, and the two re-elected members from this region will be back in familiar roles. NDP leader Merritt Stiles and her party have 27 MPPs at Queen's Park this time around, and all of them have been given a shadow cabinet portfolio. Lise Vaugeois in Thunder Bay Superior North is once again the Shadow Minister for Seniors and Accessibility, with responsibility for WSIB and injured workers, and Kiiwetinoong MPP Sol Mamakwa is back as one of the two deputy leaders for the NDP. He's also retained his roles as Shadow Minister for Indigenous and Treaty Relations and Shadow Minister for the Northern Economic Development and Growth. The legislature is set to resume on April 14th. Thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of Northwest Newsweek. I'm Riley Cohen, and I'll catch you next time.